With me today in the passenger seat is Jared Kolb, the Director of Campaigns and Membership for Cycle Toronto. Hello, Jared.
Good to meet you, Tanner.
How long have you been a cyclist?
Been a cyclist. I've been riding bikes since I was a kid, but went away to university, and a buddy of mine and I decided at the end of our degrees to ride across Canada. So we bought bikes, and we went on this big odyssey, which that catapulted me back into the world of bike riding. The Cycle Toronto is Toronto's only member-based cycling advocacy organization. What we do is we put pressure on City Council to enact better bike policy legislation, build better bike lanes, and build out better bike infrastructure. Toronto amalgamated back at the end of the 90s with its surrounding neighbors. And so the city has a very urban part of the component to it and a very suburban part. We know that 54% of Torontonians have ridden a bike in the last year, which is a pretty impressive stat considering that we're a city of 2.7 or 2.8 million people. But we also know that only about 2% ride on a daily basis. So that's a big gulf. What that says is that most people are riding on weekends. There are kids that are, potentially riding to school or not, but they're people that don't feel comfortable riding every day. Copenhagen didn't become one of the most bike-friendly cities in the world overnight. It took 40 years of concerted planning. We can't get more cars on the road. If we're going to get people moving more efficiently, we've got to get people out of cars. But we also can't blame people for not getting out of their car if they don't have an option. A lot of people, there aren't bike lanes. People can't get on bikes. It's the same story with transit. People are not going to take transit unless it's the most convenient option. And so we've really got to make investments in transit as well as in cycling to get people out of cars. Helmets or bike lanes. It's a smart idea to wear a helmet. I wear a helmet in most places I go, but I know that in terms of safety, I feel most safe when I'm in a bike lane, and even more safe when I'm in a separated bike lane or along the waterfront on a trail. So helmets are good, they're part of the solution, but they're not the full story. The biggest part of the story is bike lanes. Last year, council approved the immediate removal of Pharmacy, the bike lanes on Pharmacy and Birchmount. So that's where, last year was the first year that we had a net loss of bike lanes in the city of Toronto. 1% of people will ride regardless of infrastructure. Right. Those are the kamikazes. And then there's another 6 to 7% that will ride with the appearance of safety. So painted bike lanes, signage, sharrows. And then there's this whopping 60% that won't ride unless they're on physically separated bike lanes, protected bike lanes. And so I think that's a big part of the story in Toronto as well, is that people are ready to ride. We've just got to give them the means to be able to do it.
So the solution in your mind is to separate bike lanes, and that'll get all the sort of the fence riders out onto their bikes and out of their cars, hopefully.
It's going to take time. That's a really important thing to remember. Is this is 30 years. We've got to be thinking about this in the long-term perspective. But yeah, we can get there.
Thank you very much for talking to me.
Thanks, Tanner.